Welcome back to Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin. Here I am at the hitching post of this beautiful 1884 Queen Anne Victorian called Wildwood. Welcome to beautiful Hot Springs, Arkansas, one of our nation's national parks. We're going to take you on a tour of an incredible intact home. Welcome to Wildwood, built in 1884 by Prosper and Sarah Ellsworth. Prosper and his family had immigrated from England to Canada in search of cheap land and the ability to start a new life. Prosper decided that he wanted to be a physician, and so he attended medical school in Chicago, graduating just as the Civil War broke out. He was conscripted into the Union Army and served as a surgeon throughout the war. His assignments took him south, and he fell in love with the landscape around him. After the war, he heard about the healing waters of Hot Springs and decided to locate there to take advantage of the new medical therapies being utilized. While there, he built a home and a hospital downtown, but realized what he lacked was a wife. Sarah Van Patten's family had immigrated from Holland. Her father, a botanist, had taken her to Costa Rica to explore the jungles there. While there, she had fallen in love with an unacceptable match, and her family had sent her back to Washington, D.C. Sarah vowed never to marry, but at 27, she realized that she might want to have a husband, a home, and a family. She contacted a matchmaker, and so did Prosper, and thus began the romance that would result in a marriage and the building of Wildwood. Sarah and Prosper married and built a home in downtown. But quickly, Sarah realized that if they were to have a family, they needed to move out of the rough and tumble Wild West downtown atmosphere of Hot Springs. And so they acquired 5 acres and began the construction of this incredible Queen Anne mansion. We see upon entering a desire for symmetry. There appear to be 2 front doors, but in fact, only one functions. All of the wood in this grand front parlor is cherry, save for the ceiling. Sarah herself was a Renaissance woman and practiced wood carving, brass hammering, and painting, and much of the wood in this home was carved by Sarah herself. The original etched glass front doors contain an E for Ellsworth. The inglenook has 2 benches and then an empty wall in front of the faux door. This was because Sarah designed her entryway as a ballroom and entertainment center for guests, and the inglenook was to be used as the area for the musicians to play for the evening's entertainments. Here we see the only other species of wood in the entryway. It appears to be bird's eye maple, but in fact, the coffered ceiling is oak, which was harvested from the property and veneered with bird's eye maple. Sarah wanted bird's eye, but Prosper told her they had plenty of oak to use, and so oak it would be. But she got her way with that veneer. This beautiful mantelpiece, we see original glazed tiles on both the surround and the hearth. These tiles depict Greek gods. It's been proposed that Sarah hammered the brass fireplace surrounds that are extant in all the fireplaces in the home, but that's unsubstantiated as yet. Behind the entryway, we have one of the most fabulous rooms in the entire home, the formal dining room. The red glass used throughout the house is the most expensive glass available at the time and is used over and over again in the property, both in this 5-light bay and a large panel you can see in the door separating the entry from the dining room. This exquisite buffet holds a surprise we'll show you in a minute. The medallion over the table has its original polychrome paint from 1884. So many of the original details remain in Wildwood because over her lifetime, she's had only 3 owners. The Ellsworths, a second family through the early 2000s, and then the current owners that have painstakingly restored this beautiful home. The tiles in this fireplace surround are Minton, and they show a country idol. Original encaustic tiles remain on the hearth. Every room holds some of Sarah's handiwork, and this beautiful buffet has an E carved onto its crown. Sarah herself carved that E. This hallway accesses the butler's pantry and what would have been the servant's working room. But this is a favorite treat, the working dumbwaiter, still used to this day to take drinks and treats to guests on the second floor, and items that the family needs in the basement. This is the servant's workroom, or possibly the housekeeper's quarters, but today serves as a spa room where guests enjoy luxurious treatments. Here we see the first half of the speaking tube system. The other half connects to the butler's quarters upstairs, so communication can be made between servants day or night. This is the butler's pantry and holds that little secret I told you about in the dining room. Give this little handle a tug, and the mirror on the back of that buffet slides open, allowing warm food from the kitchen to be passed unobtrusively into the dining room to be served to guests. Now into the ladies' parlor. You'll notice both of the downstairs parlors have what's called a smoking door. Sarah insisted that men never smoke in her home, both because she hated the habit and she was terribly afraid of fire. And she wanted exit doors in the main rooms of her house in case there was ever a fire while she was present. Sarah hand-painted the tiles around the mantelpiece and hand-carved much of the woodwork in this room. Her favorite design was called Wild Rose, and we can see it in the entablature crown over the pocket doors. This room also has an original painted polychrome plaster ceiling medallion from which is suspended a converted original gasolier. These hand-painted tiles with swallows and sweet peas represented peace and happiness in Sarah's home. Each room of the house had a specific type of wood: gum, cherry, mahogany, and the doors were split doors with the individual species of wood facing the room. They weren't veneered, they were actually split half and half, and we'll see an example of that later. This is the gentleman's parlor, another smoking door, and another original polychrome plaster medallion. And when I say original, I mean, yes, these bright, vivid colors are the original paint that has been on this ceiling since 1884. The tiles around this mantelpiece depict Shakespearean plays. Beautiful glazed tiles on the hearth and imported Minton tiles around the firebox. This house remains so beautifully intact because only 3 families have owned it since it was built. Now, up the grand staircase. These windows, stained and art glass, were commissioned by Sarah and created in Italy, one for Prosper and one for herself. This is Prosper's window, showing his initials entwined and the emblem of the cross and crown, the Knights Templar symbol of which Prosper was a member. Sarah's window has her motto, home, love, and heaven. Now up to the second floor landing. Children were not allowed into Sarah's main rooms, so she created this space as an entertainment space for the family. Today, this property serves as a thriving bed and breakfast, and on this level, we have 4 immaculately decorated, luxurious guest suites just waiting for guests to arrive. Hot Springs is a thriving tourist town. Any time of year, any day of the week, the downtown area is packed with guests. Wildwood has been a successful bed and breakfast for many decades. Yes, that is the original marble-topped sink sitting in the middle of the room. In the Victorian era, you will see this application many times. It was very common to have a sink in a hallway, in the middle of a bedroom, in any public space. As a business, Wildwood is being sold furnished. There are a few family pieces that will not be included in the sale, but the purchase price does include most of what you see in the video. This was the main bedroom of the home originally for Sarah and Prosper, and it contains a very special treat, and that is a wall safe hidden behind beautiful mahogany paneling. When the second owners opened the safe, they found letters between Sarah and Prosper, a lock of hair, and an inventory of the items that were hidden in the time capsule that's under the cornerstone of the home. This is the suite that Kevin and I stayed in over 2 decades ago when we were guests at Wildwood under the ownership of the second owners. And we can assure you that this current owner has gone above and beyond in restoring this property back to its original splendor and has improved it significantly under the time of their ownership. Did your stockings get wet? You can hang them here on this original Victorian clothes dryer, which would have hung near a fireplace or a coal fire. Now to the servants' quarters. Sarah herself was quite the recycler. This closet is full of shoes from servants. When servants outgrew or wore out their shoes, Sarah had them saved where she could take pieces and parts of them to have new shoes made. That is what those shoes are from. Now into the butler's quarters. There is the other end of that speaking tube we saw downstairs, where the butler could communicate with the household staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because Prosper's family was English, he maintained the English form of the servant class in his home, with a head butler, a head housekeeper, and then understaff. And these quarters were for the butler. Now, up to the 4th floor. The 1st floor is the private quarters of the homeowner, and those were not open for us to tour today. This floor is currently unfinished, but is plumbed and ready for 4 more guest suites. So the house itself has the capacity for 9 full guest suites. Currently, it has 5. We hope you've enjoyed seeing this marvel of Victorian architecture with us today. It is truly a one-of-a-kind treasure. Before we go, here are those split doors I told you about. One side is cherry, the other side gum. These 2 cottages are also included in the price. Originally, they served as married servants' quarters. Today, one is rehabilitated and ready to go as a guest cottage. The other is in need of restoration. There has always been a banana tree growing in the front of Wildwood. Sarah planted the first one there upon its construction as a reminder of her time in Costa Rica.
We hope you've enjoyed this preservation travel with Lane and Kevin here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and taking a glimpse inside of beautiful Wildwood. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, the opportunity to expand into 4 more bedroom suites in the attic, a full caretaker's cottage in the basement, and 2 cottages across the street ready for you to remodel for $1.49 million. A thriving bed and breakfast that's just waiting for its next caretaker. Is that you? Are you the one to preserve the history and beauty of this glorious home? Remember, we're not the realtors, we're just showing you this beautiful architecture. If you're interested in purchasing the property, the Zillow listing is in the description below. And if you're hankering to watch some restoration in action, don't forget to check out Restoring Our Victorian. We have 2 separate series that are in our video archive. You can watch us getting dirty, getting hands-on with restoration. Join us next time on Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin. Bye!